requirement of liquidation?
Philhealth continuing to exist 10 years from now. Now, we want to know what is the
I
actuarial
read
life
to you,
of
ito
Philhealth.
yung dated
And
June
this
6.
worries us because the president of Philhealth admitted that if Philhealth will be running a fund deficit by the end of 2020 and will continue to have a shortfall until 2024. The overall Dr. Morales, and given this, what is the actuarial life of Philhealth? What I would like to know an insurance is, and anybody can answer this question. Philhealth is basically an insurance system. What we have heard so far, insurance system, you know, from the actuarial life of the agency. May I ask the resource person, anyone, what is the actuarial life of Philhealth for fiscal year 2020, 2021, 2022? In other words, the net operating loss is almost 2 billion for the first quarter alone. So I think it is a legitimate concern to ask how long can we sustain this kind of operations without continuing to exist 10 years from now? Now, we want to know what is the actuarial life of Philhealth.
Let's first listen to General Morales respond, and then we will follow
The president of Philhealth admitted that
who is technically qualified to answer this question.
will be
All right,
running
so Ms.
a
Nerissa
fund
Santiago,
deficit
please.
by the end of
Good morning,
2020
Your Honors. Good morning,
and
Mr. President.
will continue
Good
to have a
morning, Senator
shortfall
Quilon. On the
until
question on the actuarial
2024.
life,
Now, is this
before
correct, Dr. Morales?
the
And given
pandemic
this,
occurred,
what is the
the actuarial life
actuarial
is more
life
than
of
10 years.
Philhealth?
However,
As
because
this
of
is
the
an insurance scheme.
pandemic, there is
And
a
it is
double
not
impact on the program because of the decreased collections
what we have
as
heard
well
so
as the
far.
expected increase in benefit
You know,
payouts because of the
from
COVID
the financial statements of the agency,
the pandemic.
it would appear
So
that
basically,
it suffered
with
a
our
net
projections on
operating
the
loss
COVID
of almost
payouts, the
billion pesos
incoming
last year.
contributions
And
both from
for
the direct
first quarter
contributors,
alone of this year,
which are the employed sector and those
net
who are able to
operating
pay,
loss
and
is
the
almost
subsidy
2
coming from the
billion
government for the
first quarter
indirect
alone. So
contributors,
I think it is a legitimate
which
concern
remained the
to ask
same
how long can we sustain this kind of
compared to
operations
the previous
without
years,
Philhealth itself
without
collapsing?
any additional
Can anybody answer
contribution
that?
to address the COVID.
Let's first listen to
We are
General
expecting
Morales
by
respond, and then
I was
we
going
will
to
follow
address
2021, we will be on the red already. So
who is
it's only
technically qualified to answer this
1
question.
year.
All right, so Ms. Nerissa
Because of the
Santiago,
pandemic.
please.
In terms of actuarial life, good morning, Mr. President.
Yes,
good morning, Senator
You have
Quilon.
told us the
On
history
the
of the
question
clock, but
on
the question that
the
I asked
actuarial
was
life,
how long can we still...
before the
what is the
pandemic
actuarial life
occurred,
of Philhealth?
the actuarial life is
This is
more
an
than 10
insurance
years.
scheme.
However,
And it
because
is,
of the
given
pandemic,
that in
there is a double
any insurance
impact on
system, you plot
the
out how
program
long
because of the
the
decreased
the
collections
system
as
can
well as the
last,
expected increase in
given
benefit
its
payouts because
present
of the COVID
state of
the
financial
pandemic. So basically,
condition.
with
Because
our projections on the COVID
my
payouts,
studies indicate that
the incoming
President Morales
contributions both
admitted
from the
that
direct
Philhealth
contributors,
will
which are the
be
employed
running a
sector
fund
and those
deficit
who are
in
able to pay,
2020.
and the
Is that
subsidy coming
correct?
from the government for the indirect
No, and how much would
contributors,
this be?
which remained the
It will be in
same
2021 that we will run into
compared to the
deficit.
previous years, without any additional contribution
the reserve fund will
to
be
address the COVID.
we
We are
there will
expecting
be no more reserve fund by 2021.
2021
So
we
deficit
will
na po
be
tayo in
on the
terms
red
of
already.
collections and
So
benefit
it's only
payouts in
1 year
2020 because of the expected higher
because of the
benefit
pandemic.
payouts and the decreased
In
collections.
terms of actuarial life,
Deficit na po tayo.
Yes,
compare natin yung
You have told
contribution,
us the
yes sir,
history of the clock, but the
compare
question that
natin
I asked
contribution
was
versus the
how long
benefit
can we
payouts.
still...
Mas
what is
malaki
the
sa
actual life
payouts
of
natin this
Philhealth?
year. So,
It's an insurance scheme.
yes.
And if you just give me a simple answer that in any insurance system, you plot out how long the health, this is an system can last And up to now, I have not, you have already said so many things, except the answer to my question. Given the present state of things, when do you expect, how long do you expect PhilHealth to stay
studies
afloat?
indicate that
The reason I'm asking that is,
our President Morales
my studies
that
indicate
PhilHealth
that in
be running a
2019,
fund
you will
deficit in
incur a
2020.
net operating loss of
Is that
almost
correct?
3.5 billion. And
how
in
much
the
this
first quarter of this year,
It
you
will be
already
in
incurred a net
2021 that we
operating
will run
loss
into
of
deficit,
almost
sir.
2 billion. Now,
The
that's why I am
reserve fund will
concerned
be
how long we can sustain
there will be
PhilHealth's
no more reserve
operations
fund by 2021.
as an
So
as an
deficit na po
insurance
tayo in
scheme,
terms of
given
collections
the
and
losses
benefit
that you have
payouts
incurred.
in 2020 because of the
by next
expected
year po,
higher benefit payouts and the
wala na po
decreased
tayong reserve fund.
collections.
So, 1 year lang po ang
Deficit na
ating
po tayo.
actuarial life.
Compare natin yung contribution. Yes,
So
sir.
you're saying that the actuarial life of
Compare natin
PhilHealth is only 1 year?
versus the benefit payouts. Mas malaki
Are you
yung
saying
benefit
that
payouts
in
natin this year.
2022, ma'am, there will be no more PhilHealth?
Yes.
Can you just give
Yes,
me a
sir.
simple answer?
Yes,
What is
sir.
the actuarial life of worrisome PhilHealth? This is an insurance scheme. And up to now, I have not already said so many things will accept the answer to my question. Given the present state of
Yes,
things,
sir.
when do you expect,
Contribution
how
coming
long do you
from
expect
the
PhilHealth to stay afloat?
the
The
indirect,
reason I'm asking
which
that
is the government subsidy, is still at 71
my studies
billion.
indicate that in
Even in this year and next
2019,
year,
you will
considering that
incur
there is
a net
additional
operating loss of
COVID
almost
payouts.
3.5
So yun lang po
billion.
yung aming
And in the first quarter of this year, you already incurred a net operating loss of almost 2 billion. Now, so that's why I am concerned how long we can sustain PhilHealth's operations as an insurance scheme, given the losses that you have incurred.
matatanggap from the government.
By next year
And
po,
of course, the direct
wala na
contributors,
po tayong
we are
reserve fund.
limited
So,
by the
1 year lang po ang ating
law
actuarial
in
life.
terms of contribution rate.
So you're saying that
And
the
we
actuarial
expect
life of PhilHealth
decrease
is only
in
1
terms
year?
of payers. Yes,
sir.
correct po. So,
Are you saying that in 2022, there will be no more PhilHealth? That the actuarial
yes,
life
sir.
of PhilHealth is only up to 2022. So, worrisome. If may we know what you have in mind will what you have in mind in order to
yes, sir,
save PhilHealth from collapsing
contribution coming from the
in 2022.
the indirect, which is the government subsidy, is
What
still
we
at
can
71
only,
billion. In
yes,
terms
sir.
of even in this year and next
keeping
year,
it afloat,
considering that there
the
is
government
additional
has the,
COVID payouts,
the
so yun lang po
responsibility
yung
to
aming
keep it
afloat. So we can only survive with additional contributions coming from the government.
Yes, you mean subsidy, not contribution, subsidy.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Contribution for the indirect, sir. Yes, sir. Subsidy.
My
Matatanggap
goodness
from
gracious.
the government.
Contribution comes
And
from
of
the
course, the
members.
direct
When you're
contributors,
asking
we are limited
for
by the
government assistance
law
through
in
the
terms
budget,
of
you call
contribution
that subsidy
and we
or
expect
assistance to
decrease in terms
GOCCs
of
under
payers
the budget.
sa direct po.
Okay.
Huh?
So,
So how much distribution concerns assistance would be needed from the national government in terms of PhilHealth is only up to 2022.
for 2020, we will be incurring a net operating loss of about 90 billion.
May we
And
know
for 2020,
what you have in mind, if you don't mind, can you speak without your have in mind in order to save PhilHealth from collapsing in
for
2022?
2020, we expect a net
What
operating
we
loss
can
of about
only,
90 billion. In terms of
yes, sir.
keeping it afloat, the government has the and
So for 2022,
the
okay.
responsibility to keep it afloat.
And
so,
for
we can only
2021,
survive with additional contributions
if the
COVID coming from
pandemic
the government
persists
until
Yes,
2021 and no
you
vaccine
mean
is
subsidy,
discovered
not
by
contribution,
2021,
subsidy.
we will incur about
sir.
147 billion
Huh?
contribution
In
for the
terms of,
indirect
sir. Yes,
operating
sir.
loss. Subsidy. Yes, sir.
My goodness gracious. Contribution comes from the members.
This is
When
very
you're
serious.
asking for government assistance through the budget,
Really,
you call that subsidy or assistance to GOCCs under the budget.
steps you are going
Okay.
to undertake,
Assuming
Yes,
so
sir.
how much that your projections assistance would be needed from the national government in terms
for the
of
entire country.
subsidy. When you're saying that in
For
2021,
2020, we
unless
will be incurring a net operating loss of
additional
about 90
subsidies are given
billion.
in the national budget,
And for
the Philhealth
2020,
system will, can you, in effect, if you don't mind,
what you're saying?
can you speak without your,
yes, sir, that's correct.
yeah? Extremely difficult for us to understand.
Okay, sir.
Uh,
For 2020,
I'm
we
dumbfounded. I
expect
don't know
a net
what question
operating
to
loss
ask
of about
next.
90 billion.
Because
Then, yes,
what I
sir.
hear. In any case, I would like
And,
one of the issues that
Okay.
popped up recently is the
And for
the
2021,
interim reimbursement
if
mechanism.
the
Because this has,
COVID
really
pandemic
created a lot
persists
of
until
concern.
2021
How
and
much
no
was
vaccines
allotted? Is it 30 billion,
discovered by
President Morales?
2021, we will incur about 147 billion in terms of operating loss. Yes.
27 billion.
Opo.
This is very serious. And how much was disbursed? We would like really to hear
We have
what
disbursed about 14.9 billion
steps you are going to undertake, assuming
to
that your projections are true.
711
This is really a
healthcare
cause of concern for the entire country.
hospitals.
When you're
Yeah,
saying that in 2021, unless additional subsidies are given in the national budget, this Philhealth system will, in effect, collapse. Is that what you're saying? Advance,
Yes, sir. That's correct.
not really an advance payment, because there are, but these are advances. I'm dumbfounded. I don't know what and the question asked next. Is that how I understand? Because is that correct, sir? What I
That's
hear.
correct po.
Now, in any case, I would
You
like
said
one
that
of the
you have,
issues that cropped up recently is the 14.9 billion interim reimbursement mechanism. Were there liquidations? This has really created a lot of concern.
Meron naman.
How much was allotted? Is it 30 billion, President Morales?
Before, no, approved 27 billion.
Mr.
Our SBP for Finance will answer that, Senator.
27 billion.
Mr.
And
Senator,
how much was
Mayang
disbursed?
hapon, sir. As to the, yes sir, we have already
We have,
from our
disbursed
system
about
generated the extracted
14.9
report
billion
ay meron na pong liquidation na pumapasok. More than a billion pesos po sir ang pumapasok na liquidation po.
I'm sorry, how?
Hospitals, institutes.
1 billion.
Yes
So
sir.
far.
Okay. Out of almost 15 billion, this IRM has been submitted as advance. Is that correct? Not really an advance payment, because there are,
sir.
these are advances. Question. Subject can you spread into the record, and can you tell us what are the rules on releases where
correct po.
the recipient you said
that you have,
has unliquidated advances made. Because this is an advance. And as far as I recall, under the COA rules, were there liquidations? If there is an advance, you cannot make further advances
meron
unless there is a liquidation. Has this rule been followed?
Liquidation.
Sir, as of this time po,
SBP
wala
for
pa
Finance
po
will answer
tayong
that, Senator.
replenishment of the Mr. IRA for the COVID, sir. Mayang hapon, sir. As to the release pa lang po ang we have already from our system generated the extracted report ay meron na pong liquidation na pumapasok. Initial release pa lang po ang naipalabas ng Philhealth po sir pumapasok na liquidation po.
I'm sorry, how?
Senator Dulan,
1 billion.
Yes, sir.
Chair,
Yes. Out of
educate us or
almost
give us an
15
explanation on
1
memorandum
billion
or
has
circular
been submitted as liquidation.
2020-032
Is that correct?
authorizing the deferment of liquidation. And
Now,
even you made
question.
liquidation optional.
Can you spread into
Is
the
this being
record and
implemented?
can you
So wala
tell
na
us
tayong
what are
liquidation.
the rules on the releases where
Please
the
answer.
recipient
Yes.
hospital
Mr. President,
has unliquidated
Good Senators.
advances made.
Ang,
Because this is an
ang-
advance. And as far as I recall,
pag-i-implement po sa
under
mga
the COA
regions
rules,
ng
if there
pag-liquidate
is an advance, you cannot
pertaining
make
to
further
on
advances
per
unless
hospital
there is a
arrangement ay
liquidation.
kombinasyon
Has this
po
rule been
ng
followed?
pagbayad ng claims or pag-liquidate po ng kanilang mga
Sir,
dati
as of
nang,
this time po,
na
wala pa
subject
ho
to the
tayong
IRM. So
replenishment
dalawa po ang
of
paraan
the
na pwedeng gawin ng region.
IRM for
Pero with
the
respect
COVID,
po
sir.
dun sa IRM, meron po tayong rules
Initial release pa lang po
na
ang
dapat
nagawa
ay
po ng
i-liquidate.
Philhealth po.
Having said that,
Sorry,
meron
sir,
pong meron pong IRM
Initial release pa lang
at
po
meron
ang
pong,
naipalabas
current
ng
claims
Philhealth po, sir.
na
On the COVID.
pwede naman
Thank you
po
po.
rin hindi withhold ang payment.
From the
Pwede rin
chair.
po silang bayaran.
Yes,
No, I'll
Pero
educate
meron
us
po
or
ay
give us an explanation
I'll read to you
on
Ito yung
memorandum
dated June 16,
or
2020.
circular 2020-03
All area vice presidents, etc.
authorizing
The
deferment
deferment
of
interim
liquidation
reimbursement mechanism
and even
liquidation
you
activities.
made liquidation optional. Is
In
this being
view of the
implemented? So wala
agreements
na
and
tayong
to further
liquidation.
support the operations of healthcare institutions.
Pinapayagan nyo na, please answer, huwag na mag-liquidate. Yes. Is this true?
Mr. President, hindi po yan ang intention yan. Good
Eh, ito nakasulat eh. Ano
ang,
intention pa hinahanap natin?
meron po kaming pag-i-implement po sa mga regions around the liquidation. Yan po ay pag-provide
But why issue this memorandum circular?
Yan po ay
Arrangement
pagbibigay
by
ng flexibility sa regions ng pagbayad ng claims doon po sa pagbibigay ng pera sa kanilang hospital covered ng area nilang
Thank you, Senator
subject
Pilar. You
to
did
the
not answer my
IRM.
question for the
So
record.
dalawa po ang paraan na
But
pwedeng gawin
what
ng
is
region.
the
Pero with
stated
respect
reason?
po
What is the
dun sa
reason
IRM, meron po
for this
tayong rules
deferment
na
of
dapat ay
liquidation, which is,
liquidate.
as far as I know,
Having said that,
contrary
meron
to the
pong-
rules of the
meron
Commission
pong IRM
COA rules.
at
In
meron
other words,
pong
you must
current
first liquidate
claims
before
na
further
pwede naman po
advances
rin
are made.
hindi
Now, in this
hindi
particular
withhold
as
ang
cited,
payment,
cited by
pwede rin po
Senator
silang
Lacson,
bayaran.
there
No,
is a circular.
meron
It's,
po ay
I'll read to you. Ito yung dated
liquidation,
June 16,
the date of
2020.
liquidation is deferred
All
to
area
a
vice
later date
presidents,
without
etc.
stating when the
Deferment
date will
of
be.
interim reimbursement mechanism liquidation activities.
Bakit ganon?
Tama po yung sinasabi ninyo.
In
Wala
view of
naman
the EXICOM agreements and to further support the
wala
operations of
pong
healthcare institutions,
parang
pinapayagan nyo na
open-endedness yan.
huwag na mag-liquidate.
Ang
This is true.
liquidation po ay hindi po dapat yan ang intention yan.
Eh, ito nakasulat eh. Ano
Mag-fulfill
intention
up
pa
to
hinahanap natin?
80%. Meron po
Yan
kaming
po ang nasa circular
namin.
rules
Ang
around
ibig po
the
namin
liquidation.
sabihin diyan po ay pag-provide
But why issue this
ang mga
memorandum
regions
circular?
ay dapat
Ayan po ay
hindi
pagbibigay
lamang
ng
po mag-process
flexibility sa
para
regions.
mag-liquidate kasi kailangan po ng mga ospital
ng
ang current
sa mga
payments
hospital
of their
ng area
claims
nila.
din.
Thank you,
So
Senator.
kumbaga,
You did not answer my question for
mag-liquidate
the record.
at magbayad.
But
Hindi po pwedeng
what is
porket
the stated reason?
remember
What
po,
is the reason
meron pong
for
isang
this
daang mahigit
deferment
na
of
araw
liquidation, which is,
na
as far
advance
as I
yan.
know, contrary
Bago po
to
bakarating
the
sa
rules
amin
of
yung
the
mga
Commission
claims.
to COA
Ngayon
rules.
po, halimbawa
In other
mo,
words,
ang
you must
hinirap
first
po
liquidate
ay ang
before
in-advance ay
further
5
advances are
million.
made.
Pagdating
Now,
po
in
sa
this
amin ng
particular
mga
law,
claims na yan,
cited by Senator
kung,
Lacson, there is a circular.
kung pipilitin
It's,
po namin mag-liquidate muna ang mga
liquidation
regions,
is
kung
deferred
puro
to a later
liquidation
date
lamang
without
po yun sa
stating
5
when that date will
million,
be.
wala pong cash matatanggap na
Bakit ka
ang
na?
mga ospital. Tama po yung
sir.
sinasabi ninyo. Wala
Sir.
naman po,
Sir,
wala
remember
pong,
you are handling
parang
public funds.
open-endedness yan.
If you understand what that
ang
means. And
liquidation po
precisely
ay
to
dapat
protect public funds, while advances
ma-fulfill
are
up to
allowed,
80%.
no
Yan
further
po ang nasa
advances can be
circular
made
namin.
unless
Ang
there is a
ibig po namin
liquidation.
sabihin diyan
So, apparently
ay
you're admitting that you are
ang mga
disregarding this
regions
rule,
ay dapat
unfortunately.
hindi lamang po
And
mag-process
that is why
para mag-liquidate kasi
we're in
kailangan
this
po
mess.
ng mga ospital
Because simple
ang
COA
current
rules, like,
payments
do
of
not
their
do
claims
not
din.
grant
So kumbaga,
advance unless you
mag-liquidate
liquidate the previous
at
one.
magbayad.
It's disregarded
Hindi
and
po
under your
pwedeng
circular,
porket
you have
remember
deferred,
po, meron pong
the
isang
IRM
mahigit na
fund
araw
liquidation.
na advance
Let me
yan.
quote it.
bago po makarating sa amin yung mga claims.
The
Ngayon po,
memorandum
halimbawa mo, ang
dated June
iniram
16
po
to
ay ang
2020
in-advance ay 5
says
million.
the reckoning
Pagdating
date
po
for
sa amin ng
IRM
mga
fund
claims na yan,
liquidation shall be moved
kung
from March 16,
kung pipilitin
2020
po namin
to a later
mag-liquidate
date.
muna
It doesn't even mention when
ang,
the later date is.
ang mga region.
Sir. So
Kung,
that
kung
is
puro
why we have
liquidation
all these
lamang po
problems
yun sa
because
5 million,
you disregard all the
wala
rules
pong cash
designed
matatanggap
to
na
protect
ang mga
public
hospital.
funds.
At
Now,
this time,
is it not a fact, sir, that there was also a similar program in the past? If you understand what that 1990s, and precisely to protect the public credit system, while advances are allowed, no further advances can be made unless there is a liquidation. Nobody is familiar with this. So apparently you are indicating that you are disregarding this rule. Unfortunately, there was also a system before. That is why we're in this mess because simple COA rules like do not grant another advance unless you liquidate the previous one. We must disregarded and under your circular you have deferred the whole IRM fund liquidation system. And let me quote it. While we are on that, may we know what is the legal basis for advancing dated June 16 to 2020 15 billion or a reckoning date for IRM fund liquidation or shall be moved from March 16, 2020 advances to a later date. It doesn't even mention a lawyer. I would like to know these are public funds. So that is why we have all these problems because you disregard all the rules designed to protect
if I may, Mr.
public
President.
funds. Now, is it not a fact, sir,
Thank you, sir.
that
Senator Dillon, mayong hapon,
there
sir.
was also a similar program
The management relies on
in the
the
late 1990s,
approval of the Philhealth Board
or
on the
debit
allocation of
credit system
27 billion.
as gold?
But the rationale of the Philhealth Board in approving such payment mechanism is anchored on
Nobody is familiar with
the
this. Because our
provisions
research
of the
indicates
charter
that,
of Philhealth, which is
there
the
was
Public Act
also a
7875 as
system before,
amended.
and
That
it collapsed
authorizes the Philhealth Board or the corporation to implement or craft policies in connection with provider payment
And that is
mechanisms.
why we must
So
have
this is the basis
from
and
this lesson, and yet
with
we are repeating the whole
declaration of public health emergency and with the provisions of the Bayanihan Act to heal as one.
While we are on
The
that,
board has
may we know what
decided
is the
that
legal basis
PhilHealth
for
has to
advancing
devise a financing mechanism that will
15
help
billion or allocate
sector
14.9 billion
to combat the pandemic crisis,
allocating
Your Honor.
29 billion as advances. So the basis
Can
of the
being a
management
lawyer, I would like to know
these
these
are
are
public
public
funds
funds,
is the
and
authority of
may
the
we
board.
know what is the legal basis for
That's
this?
correct, Senator Dillon. Yes.
If I may, Mr. President.
Just
Yes,
Thank you, sir. Senator Dillon, mayong hapon, sir.
Senator, to clarify the issue of the deferment,
The
may I?
management relies on the approval of the Philhealth Board
Yes.
on the allocation of 27 billion. But the rationale of the Philhealth Board in approving such payment mechanism is anchored on the provisions of the charter of Philhealth, which is the Public Act 7875 as amended, that authorizes the Philhealth Board or the corporation to implement or craft policies in connection with provider payment mechanisms, Mr. President. So this is the
Or even
basis
your own
and
legal counsel.
with
Even your
the
internal counsel.
declaration of
opinion
public
rendered
health
that
emergency
this is to
and
be
with the
done?
provisions of the Bayanihan Act to heal as one. We the board has decided mechanism was held in existence for quite some time already. Financing mechanism that will help the precedents no, dun sa to combat the pandemic crisis, Your Honor.
Yes. So the basis of the
Marawi,
management
no?
to
So,
undertake the IRM is the
tanong ko,
authority. Mayroon bang opinion ang abogado ninyo
That's correct,
na ito
Senator
pwedeng
Dillon.
gawin?
Yes.
Ngayon man o nung man nakaraan?
and
May basehan ba?
I'm not aware of any formal legal opinion
Senator, to clarify the issue on the
submitted.
deferment, may I?
There was no request for any legal opinion, but
Yeah,
this
no,
particular
let's-
policy underwent extensive deliberation at the level of the executive
opinion
committee,
rendered by council
which
that this
is composed
advance
of
payment
the corporate
scheme
council
is
and the chief legal counsel
feasible
of
under our ACOA rules?
Mr. President, Your
Pwede
Honor.
bang legal
And
opinion na,
when it went to the
did you
Philhealth
ask
board,
legal
we
counsel
also
whether this is valid?
have lawyers that
Because
are
this is
members of the Philhealth board.
30,000.
But
This
to
is
answer your
30
question,
billion.
there is no
You mean, sir, the legal office of the government corporate counsel, Mr. President?
Or even
Yeah,
your
all
own
right.
legal counsel. Even your
And,
internal counsel. Was an opinion rendered that
Philhealth
this could be done?
grant or extend the
The
IRM to
interim
non-accredited
reimbursement
facilities
mechanism
or
was
where the
in
facilities
existence for
have
quite some
pending
time
cases
already,
of fraudulent
Your
practice
Honor.
with
It has
Philhealth.
precedence no, dun sa
Earlier,
Tahal,
Senator
sa
Lacson
Undoy,
pointed to dialysis centers, maternity centers,
Lindol,
as being given an advance.
Marawi, no. So,
Are they accredited?
tanong ko,
Mayroon ho bang opinion ang abogado ninyo na ito'y pwedeng gawin?
based on our
Ngayon man o
records,
nung man
Your Honor,
nakaraan?
there is no
May basehan ba ito?
healthcare provider
I'm not aware
institution
of
that was
any
provided with
formal legal
IRM
opinion
funds that is not accredited.
submitted.
There
So
was
all
no
of
request
the,
for any legal opinion, but these particular
recipients
policies
are accredited by
underwent
Philhealth.
extensive
Why
deliberation
are
at the level
dialysis
of the executive
centers
committee,
included
which is
among the
composed of the
recipients
corporate
of the
counsel
IRM?
and the chief
Explain to
legal
us.
counsel
As
of
far
the
as we know, we're not physicians.
Mr. President, Your
But
Honor. And
I
when it
cannot
went to the
understand how
Philhealth
a
board,
dialysis
we also have
center can be a
lawyers that are members
COVID-accredited,
of the Philhealth board. But to answer your question, there was an extensive discussion that I'm aware of, Mr. President, Your Honor, whether to
all right.
include
Now,
non-hospitals in
did,
the disbursement of the
uh,
IRM funds. And as
Philhealth
explained lengthily
grant
by one of
or
our board
extend
members,
the IRM to
General Padwale,
non-accredited facilities
earlier,
or where the facilities
the board
have pending
agreed
cases
that
of fraudulent
to
practice
effectively respond to
with
this
the,
pandemic,
with the,
the financing
Senator
scheme that
Lacson
is the
pointed
IRM
to
should be
dialysis
available
centers,
to
maternity centers,
all healthcare provider
being given an
institutions and not
advance.
only to hospitals
Are
that are
they
capable of
accredited,
handling COVID. If you,
establishments
if I
for
may
purposes
mention,
of
Your Honor,
COVID?
that based on
our
records,
dialysis,
Your Honor, there is
clinics,
no,
the dialysis patients
are one of the most
healthcare provider
vulnerable
institutions
sectors that was provided with
during this pandemic,
IRM funds
because
that
of
is
the
not accredited.
comorbidity.
So
no?
all of
At,
the even those that are pregnant
recipients
that
are
being
accredited by
catered to by
Why
the
are dialysis
maternity lying in
centers
clinics are
included
also vulnerable.
as
So
among the
we're taking this
recipients
as a
of the
whole
IRM? Explain to us. As far as we know, we're not
solution,
physicians.
Your Honor, and that
But
it should not be limited
cannot
to those that
understand
are
how a
catering directly to
dialysis
COVID
center
patients.
can
Since the
be a
pandemic
COVID
affects everyone,
accredited,
especially the vulnerable sectors of the population.
Sir,
There was
sir,
an extensive
the
discussion on this,
IRM is
Mr. President, Your
was
Honor,
designed because
whether
of
to
the pandemic,
include
meaning
non-hospitals in
COVID
the
patients,
disbursement
and
of the
now we're
IRM
trying to
funds.
justify
And as
why
explained
we are
lengthily by one
extending
of our
this
board members,
to health centers which had nothing to do
General Padwale,
with COVID
earlier.
cases. And on the other hand, there are hospitals
to
who
effectively
are
respond to this
trying
pandemic. The
for reimbursement
financing
due to COVID,
scheme
to
that is
claims
the
arising
IRM
from
should be
COVID,
available to all healthcare provider institutions and
So
not
it's
only
all
to
shot,
hospitals that are capable
the
of handling
original good
COVID.
intention that
If you,
this is to provide
if I may
emergency
mention, Your Honor, that
assistance
the
because of the pandemic
dialysis
has been
clinics and the
forgotten.
dialysis
So
patients
even
are one of
those
the most
health
vulnerable
centers
sectors of the
which would have
population
nothing to do
during this pandemic
with
because of the comorbidity. No?
COVID
At, even those that are pregnant, no, that are being catered to by
let's leave it at that. It's a
the
matter for the
maternity
committee
lying
now
in
to assess
clinics
whether
are also
this is,
vulnerable.
correct.
So we are taking this as a whole
May I
solution,
Yes,
Your
sir.
Honor, and that it should not be limited
it was
to
mentioned,
those
sir,
that are
that,
catering
it was
directly to
applied
COVID
in the
patients.
past.
Since the pandemic
But actually,
affects
in the past, sir,
everyone,
Yolanda,
especially
sir,
the vulnerable
on,
sectors of the population. Thank you, sir.
Marawi, there were claims, sir. In here, sir, there were no claims yet
meaning
There were
COVID
no
patients.
claims yet, sir.
And
But
now
in the
we're trying
past,
to
sir, there were
justify
claims already.
why we are extending
So
this.
that is
In other words,
the
the health centers, the system in the past was reimbursement of pending claims. And on the other
Yes, sir,
hand,
reimbursement, sir,
there
but-
are
yes.
hospitals in this particular case, it is advanced reimbursement due to COVID, to claims arising from COVID treatments. So it's all shot, the original good intention that this is to provide emergency assistance because of the pandemic has been forgotten. So even those health centers,
Pangalawa,
which would have nothing to do
Remember, mahalaga tong tanong na to.
with
Dahil
COVID,
hindi natin masusugpo yung problema ng COVID.
So, let's leave it at that. It's a matter for the committee now to assess whether this is
Till
correct.
March or
Sir, may I speak, sir?
Of this COVID test is
Yes, sir. It was
Mr.
mentioned, sir,
President,
that
Senator
it was
Drilon.
applied in the past. But actually, in the past, sir, Yolanda,
For the
on
testing packages, especially the
Marawi,
first one, the 8,000.
there were claims, sir. In here, sir, there were no claims yet.
150.
There were no claims
we were
yet, sir. But in the
able to,
past, sir, there were claims
get the
already.
initial cost estimates
So,
generated on
definitely-
the week of
the
March
system in the past
16
was
and was finalized
reimbursement
on
of
March
pending claims.
20.
Yes, sir.
During then,
Reimbursement,
there
sir.
were only
Yes, sir.
few
Yes, in this particular
testing
case,
kits,
it
and
is
also there were
advanced.
only several accredited laboratories or licensed laboratories to do that. Now, the package includes not only the testing kits, but rather it also includes the clinical assessment, the the clinical diagnosis then that time, the specimen collection, including the specimen transport, because the laboratories and the swabbing can be done outside the laboratory but has to be transported to the accredited laboratory, and of course the PCR testing kit meant.
Okay. I will not waste time with the committee, but I am prepared to submit to the committee the true cost. To start with, the Sunsure, which is the supplier of this, can do the test kits at something like $15, and then you have the laboratory cost, etc., etc., etc. Your 8,150 is out of this world, and that is why when we started to question this, there was no dispute. You did not dispute it, and we immediately lowered it to 3,400. Now, you said that, okay, it is your program is called interim reimbursement mechanism. But let me point out to you that it is not reimbursement. It is a misnomer because you're not reimbursing anything. You're advancing public funds in significant amounts in order and granted it to the hospitals and hope that they will liquidate it, but you have not set a period when it will be liquidated, and apparently there will be a second tranche. Now, question, on the second tranche, will you again make available to the health centers who have not liquidated?
Senator, our policy po is they must liquidate 80% of the initial IRM before they can be entitled to the second tranche.
Apparently, there is no 80% at this point because you have said you have advanced almost 15 billion. The liquidation is 1 billion. So I do not see what the 80% is. So the question is, there is a second tranche. So you are making of record a commitment that in compliance with the COA rules, there will be no second tranche unless at least 80% is liquidated, although that 80% is questionable to me, but nevertheless we'll accept it that. So we are saying that unless 80% is liquidated, you will not allow participation in this program for those health centers. Is that correct?
That's correct, ho. But it will be by hospital, not for the entire amount, ho, per hospital.
I'm sorry?
Liquidation of... So the 1 billion so far, there might be some hospitals who have already liquidated some of that because they have, received only a small IRM and it's easy to liquidate. But it will be per hospital who in liquidation, 80%.
Well, the point is, you said only 1 billion has been liquidated out of the 14.9 billion. 80% of roughly 15 billion is about 12 billion. So just on rough figures, we would like to, you were saying that yes, we will not allow them to avail of the IRM unless they have liquidated 80%. And we will be, that's on record, and we will be watching that and see if that is, if the COA rules designed to protect public funds have been followed. That is all for the moment now, Mr. President. I'd like to give my colleagues also the chance to ask questions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are you done, Senator Drilon?
For the moment, yes. If there's second round, I may or may not available.
Senator Pangilinan is foregoing his 10 minutes and giving it up if you need it. But anyway, we will leave it at that. You can come in anytime, Jessica, later on. Thank you, Senator Drilon, the Minority Leader. Next is the President Pro Tem, Senator Ralph Recto. You're recognized. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senate President. Let me take off from the earlier questions made by our Minority Leader, Senator Drilon, with regard to the finances of Philhealth. Well, number one, I am looking at the financial statements of Philhealth. Unfortunately, what they submitted to my office was until March only of year 2020. So going back to the financial statements, just for the record, Mr. President, so that we all understand each other, total premium contributions in 2019 was 146 billion. Total benefit claims, 136 billion, roughly. Gross margin from operations, 9.4. Operating expenses, 12.9. Net operating income, negative 3.4 billion. Then other income, interest income of 8 billion. And therefore, you had a net income of 4.6 billion. Okay? So, kumikita naman ng PhilHealth dahil meron din silang reserve fund na nagbibigay ng interest income yan dahil sa kanilang investment at dividendo. Now, having said that, if you take a look at the assets of PhilHealth, ang total assets ng PhilHealth for March of this year is roughly 230 billion. Ang liability nito ay 119 billion lang. And having said that, ang retained earning, na tawag natin dito ay equity, ay 110 billion. Okay? The reason why meron retained earning o reserve fund ang PhilHealth ay para sa mga ganitong sitwasyon na may pandemic halimbawa. No? So sa mga tuwid, meron tayong tinabi na 110 billion sa ganitong pagkakataon. Okay? Now, alam natin na ang PhilHealth ay national government yan. In fact, monopoly yan. At wala silang kahirap-hirap na mag-raise ng revenue dahil mandated ng batas. Mandato ang tao, ang employee-employer na mag-contribute sa PhilHealth. Yan ang pinakamalaking kinikita ng PhilHealth, number one. Pangalawa, yung sin taxes, kasama na yung asukal or sweetened beverages na linagay natin sa mga batas, ay subsidy rin na napupunta sa PhilHealth. Kaya walang kahirap-hirap yan. Monopoly yan to begin with. No? Kung hindi ka magbayad, na you have a empleyado ka o employer ka, may kulong nga. Okay? Yan ang ginagawa ng gobyerno. Okay, now, having said that, pinakinggan ko kanina yung sinabi ng actuarial. Now, hindi ho ba tama na we've set the premise na yung 110 billion na yan ay gagamitin yan for situations like this, etong pandemic. Okay? Now, in a situation like this, hindi ho ba ang gobyerno through PhilHealth ang magbabayad ng lahat ng testing? Can we ask the president of PhilHealth, Morales? Tama po ba yun?
Ang binabayaran namin ngayon, yung through the Red Cross po, wala ko kaming ibang binabayaran na
Okay. So assuming sino ang nagbabayad ng iba? DOH ba?
DOH po.
Okay. So dalawa ngayon yun. Iba yung PhilHealth, iba yung DOH, pero national government pa rin yan. Okay? Now, pangalawa, remember mahalaga tong tanong na to. Dahil hindi natin masusugpo yung problema ng COVID kung hindi tayo magte-test. At alam natin na karamihan ng mga kababayan natin walang pambayad ng test. Kaya gobyerno ang sasagot niyan para hindi lalong lumala yung infection ng COVID. Okay? Now, gusto ko malaman ilang porsyentong babayaran ng DOH at ilang porsyentong babayaran ng PhilHealth. Masasagot ba ninyo po yun? Hindi ba pinag-uusapan sa board yan? Kaya nga natin linigay ang chairman ng board ninyo, si Secretary Duque, para mapag-usapan yung mga bagay na yan, para malaman din natin kung tama yung actuarial ninyo. Ganon din, linagay din natin sa board dahil principal author din ako ng Universal Healthcare Law. Linagay natin sa board ang Secretary ng Department of Finance, Secretary ng DBM. Bakit natin linagay yung mga taong yan? Ang Secretary ng Finance, ang trabaho niya, siguraduhin na maayos ang financial condition ng PhilHealth. Ang DBM naman, para makita yung gastos ng operational expenses ninyo. May overpriced ba yung IT system ninyo? Yan, babantayan ang ginagawa ng DBM yan sa operations. O may kulang ba sa subsidiya ninyo sa gobyerno? Halimbawa. So, yan ba pinag-uusapan sa board? Ano ang hati ng DOH at ng PhilHealth sa pagbayad ng testing?
Mr. De Jesus would like to respond.
Magandang hapon po, Mr. President at Senator Ralph Recto. Tama po yung mga na-mention ninyo na mga members po namin ng board na ex officio are key departments that influence ang aming operations, no, at aming, more specifically sa panahon ngayon ay ang aming finances. Doon pong sa projection na banggit ng aming actuary, ayan po ay kumuha.
No, I'm just asking on the testing.
Yung
I
sa
have limited time, please answer directly.
Okay. Yung pong sa testing, indeed pinag-uusapan po yan sa board. And yan po ay up to the IATF level. Kami po ay nakalinya sa protocol na dinidefine ng DOH. At kung ano po ang napag-desisyonan as long as the...
Teka. Tapusin muna natin dyan. Ang maliwanag, hindi nyo pinag-uusapan sa board. Okay? Yun ang tanong ko, no? On the testing. Hindi ho ba may plano tayo to test 10 million?
Kasama po yan, Mr. Secretary. Yan po ay pinag-uusapan dahil importante po yan na makaka-apekto sa financial condition po namin.
Yes, at 3,500, that is 35 billion. Okay? So, magkano hatian dyan kung may hatian man yan between DOH and PhilHealth? Because how can you project your actuarial kung hindi nyo alam? Okay? Now, let me go to the second point. Okay. So, 10 milyon ang itetest natin between now until next year. Baka madagdagan pa yon. Okay? Pangalawa, kung 10 milyon ang itetest, ilan naman sa tansya ninyo, yan, kasama dapat sa actuarial ninyo. 10 milyon ang itetest. Ilan doon sa tansya ninyo ang magkakasakit? Ang magiging positive? Could you answer that?
Kasama po yan sa pag-aaral ng aming actuary.
Correct.
Mayroon kung gusto nyo pong malaman sa ngayon, ang mga narito po ang aming actuary for that.
O sige, kung
Pero
pwede,
yun po,
pabilis na sagot sana. Yes.
Oo, opo. Pero duktong ko lang po, tatapusin ko lang po yung pagsagot dun sa question ninyo about the sharing of the cost doon sa testing. Lahat po, kaya ko po nabanggit yung DOH protocol ay kapag ka po yun ay sumunod sa DOH protocol, ang proseso ng pagtitest, yan po ay magiging automatically kasama sa payment mechanism po ng PhilHealth. So which means
Dalawang fund. I'm sorry Dalawang fund yan Meron pondo rin ang PhilHealth at may pondo ang DOH. Di ba? Okay? Unless you're telling me lahat sasagutin ng PhilHealth. Okay? Ang sabi mo, sasagutin lang, Red Cross lang.
Hindi po, correction lang po. Kaya ko po nabanggit yung DOH protocol kasi po lahat po ng gina-credit ng DOH as testing laboratories and facilities, yan po ay pwedeng bayaran ng PhilHealth under our payment
So
mechanism.
sa makatuwid, yun nga sinasabi ko kanina, we are testing roughly 25,000 a day. Kayo ba nagbabayad lahat yan?
Kung theoretically po, kung yan po ay magsasubmit sa amin, yan po ay dapat naming bayaran kung yan po ay
Okay, so
sumusunod sa-
theoretically, pero nagsasabit ba sa inyo sila?
Well, meron na pong nagsasubmit, nabanggit na po ng aming, pero kung gusto niyo po,
Okay, so 1.3 million ang na-test natin. Simula nung umpisa, ilan yung binayaran ninyo doon?
So
po
far,
kay
sir,
Dr. Vargas po.
Mr. President, Senator
Yes,
Recto.
Mr. Vargas.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
So far, we have received, for the testing, we have received a total of 12,180
Okay.
claims
O
per
sige,
day.
tigil muna natin, mabilis lang tayo. 1.3 million, 12,000 pa lang nagpa-file sa inyo.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Pero hindi nangangahulugan na babayaran niyo yung 1.3 million.
Yes.
Kasi marami din dyan local government nagbabayad na
Yes, sir.
I-reimburse ba din niyo yung local government?
No, sir. Currently, sir, what we are actually paying or what we will be paying are those written in the DOH protocol with regard to the testing. So they have subgroups, letter A to right now it's already letter J. And so we are paying for those which actually belong to those subgroups.
Okay. But the point is, dapat yan gobyerno nagbabayad yan Di ba? Okay? Konti lang yung mayaman Okay? Na kaya magbayad Okay? So tandaan ninyo, 10 milyon yan. Okay? Now, doon sa magkakasakit naman, anong projection ninyo? Kung 10 milyon ang itetest natin between now and next year, ilan sa tingin ninyo ang nasa isolation facility at magkano ang gasto sa kada isa at magkano naman sa ilan yung mga hospital at magkano babayaran ninyo? Kasi yun yung actuarial
Mr. President, Senator Recto.
Yes, please.
Ms. Santiago, go ahead.
Okay. Our projections, yung projections po namin for this year na cases distributed among the severity of cases is 208,000 o 209,000 for this year.
So tingin ninyo, this year, by the end of this year, ilan? 209,000 ang
Ang confirmed cases po na across mild and up to the severe critical cases
Okay.
po.
Today, we are already at what? 106,000.
Correct, sir.
And there are still 5 months.
Yes, sir.
And exponential yung growth niyan, di ba?
Opo.
Unless we improve what we're doing, right? Okay? So you expect it to double yet.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Now, magkano ang gagastusin nyo for the 200,000 na magkakasakit?
We expect about 28 billion, sir.
28 billion lang.
28 billion.
Okay. Now, having said that, hindi ko makita paano, so let's get to the revenue side after this, na mauubos yung 110 billion nyo this year na reserve fund. Kung 28 billion lang yan.
Yes, sir. Bali, including the COVID testing, we are expecting to pay about 22.5 billion.
Assuming those figures to be correct, ha?
Yes, sir.
28
Yes.
plus 22. Okay.
About 50 billion for the COVID additional payouts. We are projecting about 184 for the UHC for 2020.
Let's get to that. Sandali lang.
Yes, sir.
Sandali lang. Okay? Okay. Ang payout ninyo, so, this year, ang magiging iba lang, may COVID tayo. Okay? So for COVID, based on your analysis, himayin na lang natin yan at a future time. Please submit to the committee. Okay? For testing, 22 billion, then 28 billion for patients. Okay? So 50 billion yan. Okay? Yung benefit packages ninyo last year, magkano ginastos nyo? Mga 130. Di ba?
Correct,
Is
sir.
that correct? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So assuming, and today, sa totoo lang, maraming hindi pumupunta sa ospital dahil takot sila magka-COVID. Mababawasan yung ibang benefit package na binabayaran ninyo. Hindi ba nakikita ninyong trend ngayon yan sa Philhealth?
Because of the 120 days na palugit po doon sa pagbabayad, hindi pa po pumapasok talaga yung mga claims.
Okay. So magkano ang projection nyo sa mga ordinary claims? Baka hindi pumalo ng 130, baka mas mababa yan. Maraming hindi nagpapa-hospital ngayon eh. Di ba?
Yes, sir. But for the UHC po kasi meron po tayong immediate eligibility doon na provision for which maski po yung mga hindi nagbabayad ng premium, mababayaran po sila.
Yeah, we know that already. We already know ilan ang magkakasakit this year eh. Di ba? You know, frankly speaking, 14 million last year ang nagkasakit. More or less this year, halos ganun din yan. Ang binabayaran natin sa kada nagkasakit, 10,000, roughly. 140 billion a year. Di ba? Oh, maliwanag yun eh. Okay, so, okay, balik tayo. Ha? Para hindi magulo. Ang revenue ninyo last year, magkano? 140 plus billion, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay? At ito, matagal ko na sinabi sa inyo, himayin ninyo, iba yung contribution of the 140, magkano yung contribution ng manggagawa at mga employer. Lahat-lahat na. Yung nagbabayad, magkano? Direct contributors. Kalahati, 60%, what is the amount? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I'm just looking into my...
Yung mga ganyan, dapat top of mind yan.
It's roughly 60-40 po.
So 60% is what? Direct contributor.
Opo.
Sir, yung sa 2019 and 77 billion po out of the 146.
Is direct?
Direct contributors po.
Okay, 77 billion.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ang balance
Extension, give me an extension of 2 minutes, Senator Recto.
thank you. I'll try to wrap up, Mr. President. Saan yung nawawala ng trabaho ngayon.
Yes, sir.
Di ba? Yun ang hindi makaka-contribute, indirect contributor. Yun ang mababawasan sa income ninyo. Now, of the 77 billion, magkano tansya ninyo, dahil sa tama sa ekonomiya natin, magkano ang babagsak na koleksyon?
About 150 po ang in-expect namin.
Mali ka na naman dyan. Ulitin ko lang ha.
51,
Oh. 77 billion yung direct contributors mo eh. Hindi lahat yan mawawala. Ilan ang mawawala dyan?
ang direct po namin for 2020 would be about 78.
Okay.
And
So
expect
you,
for
you
20.
expect to collect 78.
Correct, sir. Yes, sir.
Eh di flat lang kayo.
Yes, sir.
O di hindi masamang problema yon.
Well, considering
Ang
na
tansya ko dyan, 50 billion, in effect, kung gano'n ha, ang numero ninyo, 50 billion lang ang mababawasan. Ang madadagdag na gastos this year. So hindi madideplete yung 110 billion na reserve fund.
yes, sir. For this year, hindi po.
O sabi mo kanina, madideplete. Sasagot mo kay Senator Drilon.
Sa 2021 po, madideplete.
No, sabi mo kanina, 90 this year eh. Okay, 50 lang. Okay? May matitira pa next year. 110 minus 50, may 60 billion pa. Okay? Now, okay. So we can do the same exercise for next year, but please submit it to the office. Kasi mahalaga yan, ngayon na sinabi na rin na ang budget for next year, 4.5 trillion. Tinaasan ng 9%. Okay? Titignan natin kung magkano ang kailangan talaga ng totoong numero ng Philhealth kung kinakailangan dagdagan ng